Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Chaos Child. And we're just continuing in the last chapter. Anyway, huh? When I went inside the exam room, I didn't see Kunasato or Artemura. That's strange. I thought they'd still be here. There's no equipment here for a surgery. Sarika must have already read my mind. It's better than just a first aid kit, and Nono had said that Dad used to be a brain surgeon and that he'd done operations on patients during the Shibuya earthquake, and that there were still patients who said that he'd saved their lives. That's right, Dad was evil. Dad was a good doctor. The people in the neighborhood loved him. He drank too much and he could be a little lazy, but he was a man who found his life's work in helping others. He was a man I could respect. So why? At first, I hadn't believed he could betray us, but as time passed, it started to seem more real. I knew it was pathetic, but I almost started to cry. I tried to take my mind off it by going through the shelves, which were filled with gauze and drugs. But all the medicine bottles had neat labels in Nono's handwriting, and when I saw them, it only made me want to cry more. That's not right. Sakamo was a monster who gained the power of mind control and enjoyed it to the fullest. He only played at being a good doctor. Sarika lifted up her skirt and showed me her stomach. Oh, I think she lifted up her shirt and showed you her stomach, because lifting up her skirt seems... Let me lift up my... That seems like a lot to show you the stomach area. You lift up your shirt, maybe pull down the waistband of your skirt. So I think it's supposed to say shirt. She lifted up her skirt. Oh, good. Oh, okay, she's wearing... Okay, her uniform is a dress. I didn't need to see the panties. Oh my god. I figured the uniform was a top and a bottom, not a dress, but that's... Ow! What the fuck? It was covered with packing tape that had been stained dark red. Oh, that's what it is. Oh my god. I was like, what the fuck is going on? It was wound poorly and far too tight. Sakuma once saw me using packing tape to treat an injury and laughed. Not bad, he said. I didn't know what he meant. Do you remember the second murder, when Takayanagi, the street musician, was killed? Yeah. Her stomach was cut open and a speaker was put inside. She was mind-controlled into using packing tape to stop the bleeding. When I saw him make her use packing tape, I asked him why he was making her do that, and this is what he said. I feel like this isn't her voice, but I don't know what's happening anymore. Whatever. She's just like you, right? A doll. Isn't that funny? I could imagine his tone and his voice. I felt all the hairs on my body stand up on end. I read Sakuma's mind. It felt like I had to know why he was saying that. Sarika let out a long breath, as if letting something that had been building up inside her. As if letting out, I'm thinking it's supposed to say. Or I misread, I'm sorry. He wasn't thinking about anything more than what he said. The only word in his mind was funny. Hi. What you doing, buddy? No, boy, my headset, rude. He's not normal. They talk about people who get pleasure from killing, but he's not even that. All he cares about is whether or not he finds something entertaining, and it doesn't even have to be murder. Don't try to have any feelings for him. Don't try to understand him. Give up the idea that he was a loving father. I know that. No, you're still hoping. But to him, the conversations he had after dinner with you were no different than the brutal murders he committed. I said I know that! Couldn't tell how my confused thoughts appeared to Sarika, because I didn't know how I felt myself. Dad was trying to join some organization called the Committee. That's why he was going to kill me and put an end to the case. I was tired of hearing that. There's no way I can take in all this so quickly. Just 10 hours ago, Dad was Dad. The lazy guy who drank too much. The doctor everybody loved. I know, right? Sarika started to silently tear off the packing tape. Oh my god, my legs. Oh, I'm gonna vomit. This isn't a surgery center, so there shouldn't be any surgical tools. Instead, look in the bottom drawer in the back desk. What? That was the desk Caruso used. There should be sewing tools in there. Caruso had indeed kept sewing tools in there to patch the buttons back onto Dad's white coat. Did she learn that by reading Kurdusu's mind? Damn it! I was angry, but I did what she said anyway. There was a bag filled with sewing tools there, like always. I gave them to Serica, and she grabbed a needle and thread at random. She disinfected them and started to wordlessly sew up her own stomach. Good God, she doesn't feel pain, clearly. Right. Stop showing it to me. Seeing the sewing needle stick into Serica's pale white skin was worse than seeing the wound itself. She showed no hesitation and no sign of being in pain. What kind of life has she lived? Our eyes met. I forced myself to think of something else before she could answer my question. Where did Dad want us to go? Serica finished her stitches and tore off the end of the thread. The place where everything began, at the time where everything began. That's what he said, right? You don't know what I mean. We're everything about this case. No, this and the one that happened 6 years ago, where all of that began. That's right. Let's see if we can't match the time, too. It'll be more dramatic that way. It's not his voice anymore. I don't know what's happening. Look, I'm not doing good with the voices today. That's what he said. The place where everything began? Just like you and Kunasato suspected, the cause of all of this was the Shibuya earthquake. It was caused by the explosion of a certain device, and what you call the causal factor, it's a special type of electromagnetic wave. Actually, that was spread out from there. That's what caused the psychics to awaken to powers they never wanted. I kind of read that other sentence totally wrong, but it's fine. I just put the emphasis in the wrong place. So the conspiracy theory that the Shibuya earthquake was caused artificially, it was true? That's right. Like you were told at Frisia, that device was secretly set up in a planetarium in front of Shibuya Station. Kunasato had been the one to tell me that. Some company had bought out the planetarium and used it to do experiments. But that's where the Hikario is now, right? That's right, but there's a facility inside the building that was modeled after the old planetarium. The theater cube. What? The theater cube? A huge theater located inside the Hikario. Hikario? It's whoa, but you just say oh? Like, I don't know how to... Hikario? Cause, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, anyway. It was used for musicals and famous performance groups from both inside and outside Japan. It was the largest part of the Hikario building and one of its most popular attractions. So it was modeled after the old planetarium? Come to think of it, I'd gone there just once before. There was a foreign musical playing. I remembered being amazed at the size of the place and the luxurious design. But what I remembered best was the faces of the people I'd gone with. Yui, Yuto, and Nono and Dad. I think it was to celebrate Nono and I making it into Hekio Academy. We'd made it into Hekio, which offered free tuition for earthquake orphans. And Dad had joked, "This frees up a lot of cash," and bought us expensive front row seats. Nono had gotten mad at him and told him he was wasting money. Thinking back, that was the first time the 5 of us had ever gone anywhere as a family. It was a memory I treasured. It's kind of tarnished now, ain't it? But why did Dad choose a place like that? Onoe closed her eyes for a moment. Probably because of you, Takuru Miyashiro. Me? The cardio is at the center of the Restoration Festival. The place will be full of people. He probably plans to kill you in front of the crowd and make it look like a suicide, just like he said. Using his mind control, she continued. And once the events in the afternoon are over, the theater will be a huge empty space by nightfall. If he does have to get into a fight with his dai sword, he can avoid being seen. He made a big deal about where it all began, but I can't imagine he would specify a time and a place for no reason. Which means the time is 10:28 p.m. I would never forget that time. It was when the Shibuya earthquake struck. At 10:28 tonight, the festival is going to undergo a change. All the festivities will end for a time of silent prayer that'll cover the whole city. And then you show up after telling everyone you're going to commit suicide. You can imagine what will happen, right? That piece of shit. There was disgust in her words. Oh, okay. Normally she's very, that piece of shit. She's been very, like, monotone now. Like, this is going to happen. You are going to die. Like, but it wasn't rage. It sounded like she was suffering somehow. Why, Serica? If you're that angry, if you're in that much pain, why did you, why did you, oh my God, why couldn't I read that? Why did you do what he told you to? I've told you many times already. You remember what happened when I was created, right? Oh no, wait. Serica, save me. Please, please. Oh no, wait, please. Give me. You wanted someone like your life, and that's how I was born. I have no purpose in life. I've given up every that. No living that. No. Hey, anyone if it means. I couldn't speak. If what Serica said was true, then the real cause behind all this was. There's no feel responsible to. I mean, literally, it's kind of our fault. We kind of were the killer. I wasn't wrong. It's not exactly okay. I just, if you watch games that I play, you know what game I'm talking. I wanted the same thing, exactly, like kind of, sort of got asking for, not exactly, and I did it. Whatever, but like, please, she read my mind. You didn't know anything about the Gigalomaniacs or the ones who were responsible for their creation. So, this isn't your fault. The feelings that pained me deep inside my heart came boiling up. Are you okay with that? I forced myself to speak the words. Are you okay with that? That's right. Even if I'd created Serica, even if I'd given her a reason to live. You killed Yui and Nono. That wasn't what I wanted. The kind, gentle Serica Onoe I knew would never want that. She had to keep me alive? Even if it meant losing Nono and Yui? Even if it meant killing them? That wasn't what the two of us wanted. Was she really willing to give up everything else for the goal she'd been given? That wasn't human. And you really are just like a doll. Serica didn't move. She just looked back at me. It's time for me to go. She was the first one to break the silence. She tossed the old packing tape, the used gauze she'd put on her wounds, and then remainder of the fresh bandages into the trash, then adjusted her clothes. After you leave Shibuya, stay quiet for a while. Mio Kunisada will tell you what to do. She headed for the door of the exam room. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She put her hand on the doorknob and without looking back said, I was planning on staying here until nightfall, but Yuki Yamazoe's power is a potential threat. I don't want her trying anything, and I don't want you changing your mind. What? But before I could say anything more, the door opened. Shinjo was standing there. I wasn't sure how long he'd been there. He looked down at Serica, seemingly trying to keep his emotions in check. I see. You're not sure what to do. You're a murderer. He blocked Serica's path as he spoke. No matter what your reasons were, and even if those reasons were beyond anything a normal person could imagine, a murder is a murder. You have to be arrested and put on trial. I'm sure. Serica's voice was calm. And this case is my way of avenging another detective I respected a lot. The two of them stood facing each other. The air was thick with tension between them. They stood like that for almost a full minute. I couldn't see Serica's face from here, but Shinjo's expression seemed to waver once in a while. He probably knew that Serica was reading his mind, so he was thinking the things he wanted her to know. It felt like there was a silent but intense discussion going on between them. Eventually, Shinjo sighed a little. He moved to the side with a pained expression on his face. You sure about this? Once the festival's over, no matter what kind of pressure my bosses put on me, I'm going after you in Sakuma, no matter where you run. You only need to go after one person. Only one of us is going to survive. She went to walk out of the room at a pace which belied her injury. Miyashiro Takuru Miyashiro. That's what way should be saying that. She stopped, and without looking back, she said, Survive. No matter what happens, you have to survive. And then she disappeared. My creation has left. Don't think about it too much. About what? Never mind. He scratched his head, then checked the time and frowned. The police are putting everything they have into security at the festival. I'll have to leave soon, too. While I'm gone, another cop will be here. Let's see. You can hide in Yuki's room. He won't know you're here, so he won't look for you. All right. I'll probably be back tonight. We can leave Shibuya then. Be ready to go. All right. I answered him, but my body wouldn't move. My hands were clutched tight, and I hadn't even realized it. I felt so frustrated, so angry and disgusted with myself. All these horrible things were going on around me, and someone else had already decided how I was going to escape them. I'd done nothing at all. I know, we're like a delicate flower. We have these magic powers, and yet we're just, like, kind of useless. I mean, if we were, like, super tough and kicking ass, I mean, it would defeat the whole purpose, you know what I mean? Like, the story has to progress to a certain point, but it's kind of like, are we gonna, like, we're just gonna, everyone else is gonna, we're not gonna. I mean, I can't blame us, like, we didn't get there in time to save, no, that was a timing issue. You know what I mean? Like, there was nothing we could do about that. Like, we didn't get there in time to save you. That's not really our fault. But, like, now I understand. I mean, like, I have these magic abilities and I can't do anything and I haven't done, and, like, what the fuck? Like, I get it. You know what I mean? Because, like, as the player, you're like, are we super magic boy? Like, we just, no? Like, but at the same time, you're trying, like, everyone's like, don't do anything stupid. And you're like, okay, I guess. So. Shinjo seemed to be about to say something else, but instead he left the room silently. The clock said it was past 10 p.m. I was supposed to be getting ready to leave Shibuya, but I couldn't leave Aoba dorm right now, and most of the stuff in my room was already taken by the police. There wasn't much for me to do. Why am I leaving Shibuya anyway? It might just be to avoid the warrant, but it was clear from the way Sarika and Kunisada were talking that there was probably another reason. Something that had to do with the psychics. And somebody should fucking tell me before I run off and do something stupid. They're gonna be like, no, don't do anything dumb. All right, well, if you don't want me to do something dumb, you better tell me why the fuck I shouldn't do anything dumb. And something that had to do with Chaos Child Syndrome. Damn it. I quickly closed my eyes and shook my head. No, don't do it. Don't try to find out. Remember your promise to Nono. You've already learned what happens when you try to find out about things you're not supposed to know, right? But I want to know. So, I'm gonna guess this is Kunisado asking, oh no, he's gone, right? It's either that or Arimura. Huh? I looked up and saw Kunisado and Arimura by the door. Okay, it was one of them. I was right. How long have you been here? Were they at the front desk next to the exam room the whole time? We didn't want Onoe reading our minds, so Arimura and I hid. Kunisado entered the exam room. Arimura followed after, but when she saw the bandages and tape in the wastebasket, she looked at me angrily. I'm not on her side. I sounded a little guilty as I said it, but all Arimura said was, I know. But the look on her face was strange. It was as if she blamed me, but wasn't able to say it aloud. What is it? Huh? There's something else you want to say, isn't there? Tell me. Sick of secrets. You're right. Arimura looked at Kunisado for a moment, but evidently it was okay for her to tell me because she continued. What did Sarika Onoe say? What do you mean? You talked about a lot of different things, right? I couldn't make out what it was exactly, but I heard voices. Yeah? I gave them both a brief version of what Sarika had told me. Kunisada crossed her arms and thought for a moment, then whispered to herself. What you doing? Hi! You've been kind of an asshole today, screaming a lot, but right now you're being good and you're chattering nice. I just want you to know that. I want you to know that because you screamed a lot today. Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Those are nice chirpies. She's being very nice right now, and I appreciate it. I thought so. What? What's your take on this? On what? On what Sarika had to say for herself. What? I didn't even think about it. None of the things she had to say were what I wanted to hear. Even if I created her, I still can't accept this. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Kunisada raised a hand to cut me off. What she's done is unforgivable. Whatever the reason was, that won't change. And that's not what I'm talking about. What did you think about her explanation of the case last night? What she said last night? What did I think? She told the truth, right? Artemura had heard the whole thing and used her powers to check it. But Artemura looked down at her feet and said softly, Miyashiro, do you remember what I said after what happened with Ito and Yui? Huh? That if I'd been more careful with how I used my power, I could have figured out that something was wrong with what Ito was saying? Yeah? Artemura had regretted that deeply. But what did that have to do with Sarika? Oh. I looked at her face and suddenly figured out what she meant. Was there something that Sarika had said? Was she lying? No, she was telling the truth, but... But? It was strange. I don't know how to say it. It was all too true. Too true? What does that mean? I listened as carefully as I could. My power lets me tell when someone's lying, but people's words aren't always black and white. They hesitate, they get vague, they sometimes forget what they're trying to say. They're just not very clear, right? So even when they're talking normally, there's a part of what they're saying that's kind of gray. Human speech isn't always the product of a careful, logical train of thought. It's a mix of reason and emotion that sometimes meanders or jumps topics altogether. Kunosato added. But her, Sarika Onoe's words were all straightforward. It was like she was reading from a script. The fuck wouldn't you come out and say that now she's out? And there were parts of what she said that I didn't like. Kunosato sat down in a chair without asking permission. When she was talking to me at Frisia, I was stupid enough to let the blood run to my head. I wasn't thinking straight. So on my way here, I got an idea, and I decided to try it. That's why I couldn't let Onoe read my mind. Oh, so that was why... Last night, Sarah had stayed in the exam room instead of coming up to the living room to talk with everyone else. That was the reason. What made me particularly suspicious was our discussion on the phone last night. She told me to get you out of Shibuya. She said that was the best way to keep you alive. Wait a minute. No. Kunosato stayed in the exam room. Okay, I was like, wait a minute, Sariko stayed in the exam room? It wasn't until she said when I was on the phone, I was like, wait a minute. Kunosato stayed. They keep messing up shit like that, but whatever. She told me to get you out of Shibuya. She said that was the best way to keep you alive. Yeah? I remembered her saying that. Artemura seemed to be suspicious that her words were too true, but they seemed like the truth to me. Getting you out of Shibuya makes sense. So does killing Sakama, who's a threat to you. But doesn't it seem strange that she'd give you to me? I didn't know what she meant. What seemed strange about it? Why do you think she trusted me to take care of you? Because you know something, right? Something that we don't. That's why she... Even without that, if the reason she exists is to keep you alive, she would need to stay with you until the last moment of your life. Am I wrong? But that changed because of Dad. Because of Sakama. Artemura interrupted me. That's what she said, and she wasn't lying. But don't you find it strange that she wasn't lying? Huh? I stared at her, uncertain as to what she meant. That's right. Her words might be lies disguised as truth. Kunosato nodded. What? Lies disguised as truth. She'll do whatever it takes to keep you alive, no matter what. But how is that a lie? Suckuma's just a scientist for a small-scale organization. What's the point of dying to kill him? It's useless. The committee's power is vast. Killing Suckuma doesn't guarantee your safety at all. But how can she protect you if she's dead? That's why she's giving me to you. Don't be stupid. It's true that I plan on using you as a decoy to lure out the committee, but once I don't need you anymore, we're done. I'm not gonna keep protecting you. It's like, rude. I can protect myself. Sarika Onoe can read my thoughts. Do you think she doesn't know that? In other words, if the committee is really after you, she'd never allow herself to leave your side. She would do whatever it takes to protect you herself. Am I wrong? That's... And there's one more thing that doesn't make sense. Why didn't she just tell you the truth from the start? From the start? When you woke up from your coma after the earthquake. Oh. If her goal was keeping you alive, there was no need to ever hide the truth. Instead, telling you about your power and about the committee would give you a better chance of staying alive. If you'd known about them, you never would have gotten involved in the murders. You wouldn't have put yourself in danger. See, something's not right, is it? She was right. I didn't realize it until they told me. I never would have done the things I did if I'd known what Sarika had told me last night. Just like Kunasato said, I would have stayed away. In fact, I might have done something to keep us away from it. If I had, Nono and Yui might still... But... Why? Why had she hidden the truth? It's like she was trying to put you in danger, isn't it? Arimura said the same thing I was thinking. But she can't have been lying, right? You were right next to her last night. No, there's a way. There's a blind spot in my powers. A blind spot? I remember what Arimura had just said. Everything Sarika had said was the truth. But it was too true. It was as if she was reading from a script. Oh. I found it. There was one way. One way to get through Arimura's powers. Was it the same thing as Ito? Arimura nodded slowly. Yes. If it was the same way I missed what was wrong with Ito... Mind control? That meant there might be a little bit of hope. In other words, Onoe's mind's being controlled by Sakuma. And she only did it because she was being controlled, just like Ito? But Arimura didn't look any better when I asked her. I thought that we might be that lucky, but... It's just one possibility out of many. Don't get too attached to it. You heard her. I see. My shoulder slumped. Miyashiro... Don't get any weird ideas. Even that might be a trap. Yeah, I know. I spoke clearly. I thought I was telling the truth. But Arimura looked down as if she was in pain. Was I lying just now? Kunisana must have figured out what I was thinking because her expression became more stern. I think there's a potential for mind control too, but it still doesn't make sense. If Sakuma's controlling her, why fake a fight between them? She was right. There was no reason for Dad to do that. If he'd sent Sarika as an assassin, I would have been dead already. The two of us had even been alone together, and Sarika had done nothing. Damn it! I knew it. There was no point in hoping that Sarika was really just a normal girl who didn't know anything. I should have been able to tell from watching her last night. The way she talked, the way she acted, the way she behaved toward everyone else. It was all different than the Sarika I knew before. If mind control was involved, she would have acted like the Sarika I knew. Because, and I hated myself for saying it, if she had been the old Sarika, I couldn't have brought myself to hate her. I would have thought for a long time and then maybe forgiven her. And then like an idiot, I would have done exactly what Dad wanted. and only regretted it the instant I was killed. Miyashiro. Kunisano's expression was as fierce as ever. Yes? Think carefully. This could be extremely important. I asked you this yesterday, but during the earthquake, what did you wish for? If that wish was what real booted her, what did you want from her? Was her job really to keep you alive? I remembered what it had been like back then. I remembered the hellish sights around me, the horrible headache, and I remembered begging Serica to help me. Serica said it was her goal to keep me alive, to save my life, literally. We didn't ask her to save our life, though. We asked her to help us. But our parents were trying to take us away. You know what I mean? We didn't ask her, to, keep me alive, to save me, but, I mean, there's a brief but strong pain in my head. I pressed my hand to my forehead. Whenever I remembered that, the pain came back. Are you okay? Artimura had been through the same pain, so she was worried. I raised my hand and told her I was okay. I think I just told her to save me. I couldn't remember if I'd barely been able to get the words out or if I'd shouted them at the top of my lungs, or if I hadn't even said them aloud at all. But I could remember asking Serica for help. But was that really all I asked for? Back then Uh-oh. Damn it! There was a new pain. This time I could feel a throbbing in my temples. I pressed my hand harder onto my head and the nails dug into the skin. My whole body staggered and I collapsed to the floor. Miyashiro! There was a warm sensation on my shoulder. Artimura was trying to help me up. I'm sorry. I'm fine. You're lying. Artimura led me over to the bed in the corner of the exam room. I wanted to lie down right away, but... No, I can't. Shinjo said another officer's coming. I have to hide in Yuki's room, he said. Then let's just go upstairs. I nodded and thanked her as she held me by the shoulder. I forced my body to softly push off her and stand up on its own. Kunisado, too. I'm sorry. She sighed in resignation and shook her head. It's fine, she said. Without Onoe here, I can't get confirmation either way. From what you said, Onoe is going to be at the Theater Cube at 10:28 p.m. tonight, but... Unfortunately, I can't see myself being able to fight two psychics. I haven't even fired a handgun in a long time. What? Oh, that's Artimura. What? Artimura turned to Kunisado, surprised that she fired a gun. She spent time in America! Of course she did! Standard equipment! Kunisado seemed unusually hesitant, but said, I hate to say it, but we'll have to give this up. There's something not right about what Onoe's saying, but we don't have anywhere near the time or manpower needed to find out what it is. For now, we'll follow the original plan. We wait for Shinjo to get back, and then leave Shibuya. I just wonder if that's going to be the whole point going through. Because, we're not going to find out here. There's still the mystery. Because, otherwise, if we find out all the answers, yes, we're going to go back and the, routes split off before this. I think chapter 6 or 8 or something is, for Artimura's, which is the first one they recommend doing. And they might all be from the same point, but it's, roughly around there. So we miss a lot of this. So we're going to go down. It's going to be, a different reality where things change, possibly. And we might find out. And so, you know what I mean? We'll figure all this. This is the plot-heavy point, not the whodunit. Well, we know that. And we sort of know the why, but there's still a whole bunch of other fucking shit. We solved one mystery and opened, 30 other mystery boxes. So, inside our mystery box, who did it? Who did it? It was a whodunit. And then we're like, what? But then you're like, wow, there's 30 other mystery boxes inside here. Shit. So, there you go. I bet we're not going to figure this out until the end of the game, and I'm going to forget. And I'm going to be like, when did we talk about this? I'm not going to remember. 20 hours from now. If this is all some kind of plot, we'll just cross that bridge when we come to it. I went to Yuki's room to hide before the police officer got here and found Yuto curled up asleep on her bed. He must have been crying for a long time because he was red around the eyes and I could see tear marks on his cheeks. Yuki was sitting on the bed, softly holding his hand. She'd probably been like that for a long time. It seemed a very natural thing for her to do. You're being a good big sister, aren't you? No, I'm still not. Her voice was soft and kind so as not to wake Yuto. But there was a loneliness mixed in with her words. Oh. I could see that she was looking at a photo on the desk. It was a picture of Yui and Yuki. Couldn't tell when it was taken. Yui was hugging Yuki from behind and pressing her cheek up against Yuki's blushing face. Is it Yuki or is it supposed to be Yuto? There's a lot of Yuki in this, but I feel like if there was a picture set up, it would be Yui and Yuto. I thought about the person who'd taken this picture. If it wasn't one they'd taken themselves, someone else had to have taken it. It wasn't Yuto. If Yuto was there, he'd be standing in between the two of them. Okay, alright, so it was supposed to be Yuki. I was just like... And Dad wasn't into taking photographs. Which meant it was probably no-no. I could tell what Yuki was thinking when she looked at it. That's actually kind of cute, though, because, like... you know what I mean? Like... Yui has a photo of her and Yuki, like her old classmate, her friend that she thought was missing, and she still has it out instead of like, oh, it's put away somewhere. It's out, you know? Unless it was just taken recently. You know what I mean? Like, hey, now you're part of the family, and they might have done that. That could it be. Just recently printed out, you know what I mean? Before Yui died. After Yuki got here. Yeah. Anyway, I could tell what Yuki was thinking when she looked at it. She was thinking about when Nono had taken the picture. We're leaving tonight. Are you ready? Yes, I guess. But I don't understand. Neither did I. It wasn't that I didn't know what to take. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I hadn't even been told where we were going, except that we were leaving Shibuya. We're just leaving for a while. I don't think there's anything to worry about. Okay. Yuki smiled just a little at Arimura's attempt to make her feel better. Are you okay with this? Sure am. Oh, sure am. I've been wanting to go on a trip. She was joking around, probably because Yuki was here. It felt like old times, and I smiled a little. Of course she wasn't okay. She was leaving the town where she lived, and with no notice at all. And she was leaving because somebody wanted to kill her. What do you call this, anyway? Jumping on the bandwagon? Banding in a wagon? No, and that second one doesn't even make any sense. I suddenly realized that Kazuki was in the corner of the room, chewing dried squid. I hadn't seen that in a while either. It's kind of a relief. Kind of forgot she was here. Hana, you wake up Yuto. Oh, you'll wake up Yuto. Oh, you'll wake up Yuto, because she's doing, I wonder if I have enough clothes. I guess I have to buy some. Arimura tugged at her outfit as she spoke. Arimura, if you like... If you like, you could use Nono's. They're in her room. Aww, this is such a cute little CG of, like, dude, we're all sad and miserable, but they look so happy. Aww. Huh? Arimura froze. She clearly didn't know what to say. No, but that's... It's alright. Right, Takuru? I was a little surprised. For a moment, she looked like Nono or Yui. She'd probably decided that she'd protect Yuto, and so she was trying to be a big sister like they were. I nodded to both of them. Yeah, Nono hated to waste anything, no matter how small. Would you take them? But you... I'm fine. Arimura seemed a little surprised, but her face finally took on a serious expression. I understand. I'll take them. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Arimura ran over to Nono's room to get the clothes before the policeman came. I decided I should probably check if there were any clothes left in my room, then stood up. I'm leaving Shibuya. I tried to leave the room quietly so as not to wake up Yuto. and then I stopped. I asked you this yesterday, but during the earthquake, what did you wish for? If that wish was what real booted her, what did you want from her? I remembered what Kunasato had just said. I looked around as if trying to find the answer to a problem I couldn't solve. And then I saw Yuki holding Yuto's hand as he softly moaned in pain. No. I don't have to know, do I? I don't have to think about the things I don't know. This is the right thing to do. If I endured that headache long enough, I could probably find the answer. But I gave up and left Yuki's room to go get ready instead. November 6, 2015. Friday. A little after 4 p.m. 7 hours had passed since the beginning of the festivities, and even as the sun began to set, they showed no signs of slowing down. Lines had started forming in front of every food stand and restaurant around lunchtime, and they were all still packed. There were over 30 concerts, from huge 1,000-seat venues with major artists to tiny little bars with only a dozen or so seats. Each one was standing room only. Guerrilla performance artists would approach the crowds, hoping to attract customers, and in turn attract crowds of their own. Over 80,000 people were still in attendance at the festival, which had gone far beyond the organizers' wildest expectations. There were the usual issues associated with big events, like minor fights and lost children, but there had been no major problems so far. The police from the Shibuya station helped keep things safe, but the biggest factor was the volunteer staff. The organizers had been recruiting volunteers up to the last minute to handle the crowds, keeping everyone safe and in a mood to spend money. Many of the volunteers were victims of the original disaster, and the experience they'd gained in the earthquake had taught them how to get along and work with other people. When a major band had made a surprise appearance at the stage in front of the 107, there was a mild panic, but the volunteers formed a human wall to keep people in the crowd safe. Today's the day to celebrate the restoration. We can't have anybody trampled to death. That's what the leader of the volunteers had said to an interviewer who happened to be at the scene. He was an honest and sincere man. He was speaking from the heart, and he didn't mean anything more than what he'd said. But his words brought to mind a certain name and a certain face, both among the people who saw him on TV and among those who heard him directly. The word that had made them think of that name was, of course, death. What's with those guys? Those are the guys the news has been talking about all day. Everyone there was hoping for the festival to succeed. But at the same time, they hadn't caused a big problem yet. But there was one big concern on everyone else's mind. When a girl and her boyfriend left Shibuya Station heading for the stage at the cultural hall, they saw a group of people wearing eerie masks. There were over a dozen of them, and then another group came from another direction. Suddenly, there were several dozen. Identical masks, identical t-shirts. The faces of two fat men overlapping. It was... They're all, creepy. The sumo stickers. They said nothing. But anyone who got close, whether by accident or because they wanted to get a picture, would flinch away as they heard the eerie sound created as the sumos breathed beneath their masks. I'm just guessing. The man at the head of the group looked around and then approached a nearby streetlight. Then he took something out of his pocket and stuck it on the light. It was a sumo sticker. The owner of a nearby crepe stall saw this and frowned, but was too scared by their appearance to say anything. He quickly went back to dealing with his customer. It was something he'd seen again and again since the festival started. The only ones who saw it were people like him, who stood in one place the whole day as they ran their businesses. The majority of attendees, caught up in the flowing crowds, saw nothing. But if you were to take all the stickers placed on the ground, on the decorations, on the streetlights, on the walls, you'd have enough to cover the huge TVs at Shibuya Scramble Crossing. The stickers were slowly taking over, spreading even to places where no one could see them. They were like a physical manifestation of all negative emotions that lurked within the attendees. Like, you wonder, are they just like normal people doing this, or are they the committee? You know what I mean? But, like, it's weird that the committee is not a bunch of psychics, though. Hi! Yeah, you're over there screaming. Yeah, and I'm trying to ignore you, but now you're chirping nice. Yeah, that's what we want. We want you nice chirping, okay? Nice chirpies. We got a few more minutes to record and then I'll go over and talk to you, okay? And then we'll chat a little. Yeah, we'll have a little chat session. My plant is like... There we go. Had to fix my plant, sorry. It was about 3 hours later, around 7:30 p.m., when they finally exploded. It happened at the place that had been set up for the silent prayer that would end the festival. Right in front of the memorial. I can't see! Move! Sorry. You don't scream because I was screaming. I'm sorry. Wait, seriously? Is that him? Die! Die, you murderer! It's Miyashiro! Takuro Miyashiro's appeared in front of the memorial! But I didn't. I'm not there. Hi, what you doing, little fat bird? You coming over here to play with the plants? Hi, what you doing? What you doing? You coming over here? Yeah? You gonna chew that rock? That's fine, as long as you're quiet. Hi! Yeah? A little after 9 p.m., Sarika arrived at the Hikario. Cardio? I don't know. We're just going on a cardio. Just deal with it. Most of the attendees had gone elsewhere, and it wasn't as busy as it had been earlier in the day. She looked around and listened to the thoughts of the passers-by. What you doing, cutie patooties? You know, when you're just wandering around and you're tripping nice, you're cute. Yeah, you are. I know. I feel guilty that sometimes... Dumbass. That's your own fault. Scared yourself. I have like a little lizard. It's like a little just metal wire, like stick lizard almost, like whatever. It's supposed to be like outdoor and plants, but he's sitting on my plant table and the bird was just poking at him and it flew off the table. He knocked him off. Scared him. Man, fuck that Miyashiro guy. Is he really gonna kill himself somewhere? He didn't just run? I'm gonna need you to stop now. Stop it. I hope he does it soon. I can't go home until I see whether he kills himself or not. Not that I care which, really. Fucking wrong-siders, Sarika whispered as she listened to the worthless thoughts around her. The couple a few feet away glanced over at her, but quickly turned away. Sarika closed her eyes so she could concentrate only on the thoughts around her. As of 9 p.m., all the concerts and street performances, as well as a few of the stalls, were closing up. The festival was nearing its end. After this, the attendees would gather at the specified time for a moment of silent prayer, and then the festival would be over. The crowd seemed to be heading toward the station and the memorial. There were too many people still here for them to all fit in the memorial plaza. So the big VIPs, as well as the families of the victims of the quake, would gather at the memorial itself, while everyone else would watch the proceedings on the TVs in front of the station. Sakuma probably plans to reveal Miyashiro's body at the memorial after he kills him, doesn't he? Both the TVs in front of the station and the memorial park were near the Hikario, but the park was just a little closer. And anything that happened at the park would be replayed for people watching on TV. In other words, more people would see it. That man from before was probably part of his plan. Several hours ago, she'd heard that Miyashiro had appeared in front of the memorial, but she quickly learned that the report was mistaken. Hi, back again? Yeah, you know what? The thing's not there, so you don't have to worry about knocking it over. It was a fake, a man pretending to be Miyashiro who worshipped him as a messiah, but the man himself had looked nothing like Miyashiro. Yet for some reason, the media had decided to report it as Takuro Miyashiro himself appearing at the memorial. As a result, security around the park and plaza had been strengthened. And as a result of that, another rumor was spreading, this time that Miyashiro would be appearing there. It was almost certainly part of Sakuma's plot. How do you fight someone with mind control powers? Sarika opened her eyes and rubbed her stomach as if to check on her injury. It had been almost 24 hours since Sakuma had sliced open her stomach. She still wasn't in top shape. She had lost a lot of blood. And the dull pain in her head that resulted from resisting Sakuma's powers would come back the second she let her guard down. This had been the result of her attacking him in top form last night. She'd survived working with the committee this long, so she couldn't shake her logical and very realistic doubts. Could she really kill Sakuma? She gonna try. Takuro Miyashiro! Takuro Miyashiro! A thought suddenly came into her mind and she frowned suspiciously. That was strange. She hadn't been trying to read anyone's mind. It was from somewhere in her field of vision. Come out. Entertain me. Die, die, die. Die in a really cool way. Negative thoughts flowed into her mind, one after another. They were strong and vast in number. It was as if someone had combined all the final thoughts of all the people she'd killed. It's those people? Oh, look at them all! With the masks in the middle there. She forced herself to look in the direction of the thoughts and saw the group wearing the sumo sticker masks. She tried to squeeze them out of her mind, but they slipped past her and echoed in her head once more. Takuru Miyashiro, Takuru Miyashiro. Come out, entertain me. Die, 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 die in a really cool way. Only strong thoughts and desires could create this effect. It was as if all these feelings had formed into one single strong emotion, a desire for Takuru Miyashiro to appear. For the first time in a very, very long time, Sarika was terrified. She could feel herself break out into a cold sweat. Oh my god, my neck and my shoulders hurt. Her logical and realistic doubts vanished. It didn't matter if she was capable of killing him or not. She had to kill him. Miyashiro had to survive. And for that, Sakuma had to die, and soon. It's about time, huh? She looked at her phone and saw that it was past 9:30 p.m. Everyone inside the theater had probably been let out. Shibuya, the Hikario building, the 11th floor. The entrance to the theater cube. This room was also the entrance to the office floor, and it was always crowded with people. What you doing? Why? What are you doing? I'm gonna poke you. Good boy. But now there was no one here save a lone employee and a single security guard. The festival event in the theater had finished up at 9 p.m., and there were no other plans to use it. Theater pub. It looks like cube, though, with a Q-U-B. Maybe it's supposed to be. Yeah, theater cube. It's like cube. It doesn't seem right. The whole floor was lit up, giving its classy design an elegant atmosphere. It didn't at all match what was about to happen inside the theater. What you doing, birdies? Because by the time this was over, one of them would be dead on the floor. Sarika stood in front of the convenience store on the floor and waited for the time to come. There was no sign of Sakuma. But then, a little after 10 p.m., she realized something was wrong. He was never going to show up. The employee and security guard at the front desk suddenly started to leave. They dropped what they were carrying and began to stagger out, as if they weren't thinking about anything. Her eyes went wide and she immediately tried to read their minds. She felt a sharp pain in her head when she did. They really weren't thinking about anything. There wasn't even the meaningless subconscious noise that all humans produced. Nobody was ever like this. Nobody normal, that is. Mind control. The two of them walked into the escalator as if they were in a daze and then disappeared. Walked to the escalator, not into. Oh, look, I can't read. All that was left was empty silence. He's well prepared. Another violent pain struck her. Wow, this didn't make sense. They'd already vanished. There was no reason why she should be hearing their thoughts. Where was this heavy strain coming from? What? She felt something very strange in her mind and body. And then she saw her left hand slowly begin to move without her controlling it. Woo! We only got a few minutes. Let's see. Are we ready? Yeah, everybody's ready to go. Shinjo was out of breath. He'd run back to Aoba's dorm to take the place of the other officer, who I hadn't seen because I was in Yuki's room. I could tell he'd been literally running around all day. Okay, I'm the one who will be here for the next several hours. I'm the only one. I gave some false information to the media outside. There's no one here now. We can take the car and go. Miyashiro and Arimura are one thing. When the next officer comes, how do you intend to explain Yamazoe and Yuto Tachibana's absence? That was a good question. There was no way to hide that, and it would be his fault if they went missing. I've learned how to change the subject by talking to you and Mimose. Don't worry. I'm not worried about your well-being. I have a lot of work planned for you after this. You can get demoted, but I can't have you being fired. See? This is how I learned. Shinjo sighed. Then Yuki came in with Yuto at her side and a worried look on her face. That's when you tell them, oh, they're sleeping. Shh. And then you go, and then the officer's there, and then the next person comes. Where'd they go? They were sleeping. You left? You lost them? Well, you blame the other guy. Huh. She slowly raised her hand. The other hand was clutching Yuto's tight. Yuto's eyes were still red, and he wasn't looking good. Yuki seemed to be trying to hold him up. Where are we going? Smack. Shut up. Nobody asked you. I'm just kidding. We wouldn't do that. Pats her on the head. We wouldn't do that to you, sweetie. Akihabara for now. What? Akihabara? Yeah. I've been sure we go somewhere less densely populated. I thought we go somewhere further away. Kunosada was somewhere in Akihabara, someone in Akihabara helping her. Shinjo looked at her. Someone helping her? A hacker who's better at finding information with a computer than I am. He's a weirdo, but he knows a bit about the situation. He'll put us up for a while. For some reason, Kunosada furrowed her brow and frowned. He's giving us a fairly decent machine, too. Though who knows what he'll want in exchange. I guess you're gonna learn to put out. Me? Her? Shinjo? Who? Shinjo seemed confused. Evidently he hadn't met this helper of hers. Anyway, what's important isn't how far away from here we go. What's important is getting out of Shibuya. We'll stay there for a while and see how things go. That's the deal. Where's Arimura? Oh, she's in Nono's room on the phone. I see. Arimura had said she was calling her family before she left. But when she'd taken her phone into Nono's room, she hadn't looked like a girl who was saying goodbye to her family. It had always felt like Arimura didn't want to talk about her family, and I hadn't brought the subject up. So I had a vague sense that they weren't on good terms, but I didn't know anything else. Oh god, are we sus of her now? Okay, when she's done, we'll go. The car's by the front entrance. We won't have to worry about the media for a while. But be careful when you get in. The neighbors might be watching. I'm taking Yuto too. Huh? Suddenly Yuki spoke up. She must have been nervous because she clutched his hand even tighter. She was acting a little strange, but it was also cute to see how much she cared. Couldn't help but smile. I looked at Shinjo and saw his expression was much the same as mine. Of course, that's been the plan from the start. Is that okay, Yuto? Yeah. Yuto nodded. And then he looked at me. I mean, seriously? We can't just leave the kid alone. Like, he's sleeping and all of a sudden he wakes up and two of his sisters are dead and his brother and then his new sister are just gone? Are we trying to, like, fucking break this child as much as possible? Like, shit. Everyone has been through some shit, but I feel like Yuto has been through the most. The most shit. What are we, like... She's like, and Yuki's like, we're taking him, right? Well, of course we're taking him. What the fuck? We're not evil. Oh, and then he looked at me. Brother Chikuru? Hmm? Where's Dad? Is he okay? He's a murderer, no. Suddenly, I didn't know what to say. Yuto didn't know anything about what was going on. Nor did Yuki, who was also looking at me and expecting an answer. Did we tell them? It hurt to see how worried they looked. All I could do was tell myself that I couldn't make it any better. I'll tell you later. When's later? Once we get to Akihabara and get settled in. I could tell Yuto was struggling with his feelings. Now it was his turn to grasp Yuki's hand tightly. Okay, as long as you promise. Yeah, go get your things. Okay. The two of them must have felt the exact same way as they went to their rooms, still holding each other's hands. Artemura is getting a fucking phone call from he's gonna mind control and she's gonna come out and kill us. Look, I'm just saying, I'm very suspicious of her going into another room to call someone. Shinjo looked at me with a pained expression. And like how we're not just going, like it keeps like, okay, and now there's this, and then this, and it's slowly moving, and you're like, some shit's gonna drop. Like how, Like, are you tense? I'm tense. It's like, oh God, something else is going to happen instead of like, we got away. And then that's the end where, yes, I expect there to be a lot of unanswered questions because that's what all the other routes are now. But I'm just waiting for something else to happen in this as opposed to the long drawn out escape. There's something else that's going to happen here. It's fine. Of course, that was a lie. But Shinjo was nice enough not to say anything. Shinjo, I want to check one last thing. Kunosato stared at the hallway where Yuki and Yuto had just left as she spoke. I could tell from the way she was acting that it had something to do with Dad. About 2.5 hours ago, someone appeared at the Memorial Park claiming to be Miyashiro, right? Yeah? I remembered the news I'd just seen on my tablet. The TV news and Twitter had all been talking about how I'd appeared at the Memorial Park. But of course, that was a lie. It was right here. I assumed he'll be let off with a warning and released tomorrow. Well, that's the plan. I feel sorry for the guy, but can you do whatever it takes to get him locked up for a few more days? Shinjo seemed to know what she was getting at. He looked out the hallway, too. You think Sakuma sent him? She nodded. And the timing is such that any number of fakes could appear, but it worries me that a man trying to be Takuro Miyashiro didn't make the slightest effort to look like him. Even at a distance, you should have been able to tell it was a different guy. It's true that he wasn't a Chaos Child Syndrome patient, Shinjo said. That was confusing. When I'd seen the man on my tablet, his height and age had been mostly the same as mine. From a distance, it would have been hard to tell us apart. What did Chaos Child Syndrome have to do with it, when that was just a type of PTSD? I'd like to know more about him if I can. Kunosato tapped at her temples. Got it. I'll work something out. It was also strange to see how easily Shinjo agreed to keep an innocent man locked up. It's time to go. Tell Arimura. He pointed to the clock before I could ask any questions. It was 10 p.m. Yeah, I got our things ready. I got all our things ready. Oh, huh? She's not there! Dun dun dun! Huh? Or she's sitting in the room crying or something. I don't know. But, like, we're not going to find out till the next part, so. I just feel like this end, it's like I'm so tense from just, like, sitting here. But also, like, just everything. You're like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Something else is going to happen. Oh, my God. Like, anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.